Now, because my creativity levels are in the gutter right now, and the knives keep showing up, we are relying heavily on the unboxing segments to power through the B-rolls. You know, you got the gutters. Speaking of gutters, I gotta work on those. And plus, I got 2 sheds to build, and you're not helping me, so the knife films are kind of taking a backseat right now. Now in the backseat today are the latest updates to the Sharkcub line from the Demko knives. Now on the Sharkcub line, we're moving into the AUS 10A and some GRN, or is it GRN, or is it GFN, or is it FRN, or is it GNF&R? You know what I'm talking about, the high impact polymer we've come to know and love in our Benchmades and Spydercos. You know, there are slight differences in the makeup of these super plastics, but you know, that's for the reply guys to disseminate in the comments.
Actually, there's more fiberglass than GFN.
Now, if you remember back to, you know what, it doesn't matter. But back when I reviewed the original Sharkcubs at some point in history, those particular models used a higher end 20CV steel with aluminum or G10 handles. Now, those retailed for about $190 to $200, and I guess they still retail for that. And since then now, we've gone sub $100 in Demko knives and their folders. We've traded out for the AUS 10A and the GRN scales, along with a few other small ergonomic and hardware differences. Now, first up, though, is the dimensions. First up after 30 seconds of talking, right? We'll keep this brief and check out the rest of the differences. I don't have any cool stories right now, but I really have to work on those sheds before the rain comes. Now, the Sharkcub is the smallest version of the AD20 series. Now, I don't have AD20 money. However, I do have the AD20.5, and then the Sharkcubs here, you know, are the smallest version of the AD20-ish line right now. Now, there are higher-end versions of the AD20s and slim ones, and if I tried to explain the AD20 cinematic universe, we'd be here all day. But there's a lot of varieties out there. There's a lot of exclusives at certain dealers. And my kids aren't building that shed out there, so I'll let you spend some time looking at that later. Now, you know the Sharkcub is the smallest, so let's compare the original Sharkcubs to the new versions of the Sharkcubs. The new versions come in a few blade shapes. Seen here is the Slicer Shark with the port. You know, is it like a drop point? It looks like a drop point to me. And here it's in a flat grind, and it looks like a flat grind to me. I am an idiot, and I don't see the inward curve, so we're going to call it a flat grind. It's not in the product description, but I'm pretty sure it's a flat grind. And the clip point is also available, and that is in a flat grind too. Now, blades here are stone washed just like my other 2 Sharkcubs. And of course, again, for like the 3rd time, we're AUS 10A versus the 20CV in the originals. You know, 20CV is kind of like M390, or it's like is M390. And AUS 10A is better than AUS 8A, but I think it's like VG10-ish in its quality. It's a well-regarded working steel. There's nothing wrong with it. But the main difference between these 2 blade shapes isn't the cutting edge, because they're about the same. It's only a slight difference in the belly, but the main difference is you have a port deployment on the Shark Slicer. You can flick it. Some people call that the Spidey flick. I just call it, you know, a finger flick. Versus thumb studs on the clip point. Now, I prefer the port personally, but the looks of the clip point kind of speak to me a little bit better, which is why it's a real good idea to just buy both of them, okay? Trade them out whatever day you're feeling like, you know, one or the other. But anyway, if you want to know more about AUS 10A, if I didn't do a good enough description, I'm going to link a Cedric and Ada video at the very end where Pete goes on about AUS 10A for a while. And, you know, that'll satisfy some people. Now, visually and in the hand, the knive's biggest difference, you know, of course, other than the steel, is the GFN, or, you know, whatever it's called. It's slightly thicker and curvier. It feels thicker in the hand. Not like thick, like is in like bad thick, but like good thick, you know. The weight difference is minimal. From the original Sharkcubs, I believe these are about 1/10 of an ounce heavier, which is not really perceptible in the hand. And I'm sure there's a guy out there that can perceive 1/10 of an ounce, and that's fine. But not to me, though. The FRN is textured much like the G10. Maybe it's a touch slicker, but that's about it. Do I prefer the original Sharkcubs or the slightly curvier swell of the FRN, the new Sharkcubs? You know what? Again, I like both. I don't really think there's a wrong answer here. They're only slightly thicker, but it does feel a little curvier, a little nicer in the hand, I think, the GFNs. There's a GRN. You know what? I need to write this down. Now, visually, the scales are different from a hardware perspective, too. You have more pins on the original G10 and aluminum shark clubs and less pins here, so I don't know why you'd swap out the scales, but you probably can't without modifications. There's going to be some guy out there that takes them apart and swaps the scales on them. So he has GFN on the 20CV, and there's like one guy that's going to do that. Just don't be that guy. You know, it's like you put a V8, when the guys that used to put the V8 in the Geo Metros, like, you can do it, but like, why would you do it? But some people, that's why they do it, is why would anyone do this? And they're going to be the guy that does it. So attempt to scale swap at your own risk here. Also, the pivot is nicer looking on the original, kind of flush, kind of showy with the logo there. This one looks a little more like a standard pivot. It looks cheaper, you know, to me. Now, pocket clips are unchanged. Deep carry and swappable to the right or left in a tip-up configuration on both Sharkcubs. They are an easy slide in the pocket as well. No differences there. I think the clips look like they can be swapped between the old and the new Sharkcubs. They look identical. I'm not going to swap them though. There's no reason for me to swap them. Lock is the same tension and flick across the AD 20.5 line. The new Sharkcubs feel like the old Sharkcubs that feel kind of like the 20.5s. It's fidgetable. You can pull it back and flick, open and close, or you can use, you know, with the lock release, or you can deploy with the port or the thumb studs and flick and flack and click and clack all day long. They're fidgetable knives. Shark lock is a great, and some of the more uncareful prefer a lock like this that keeps your hands out of the way when you disengage it and like the blade falls. Now, I find that to be a user-to-user thing. There's people that show up, people that showed up on remember the avian knives video I did recently? There's a guy that was like, well, you nicked your finger there because of it's a frame lock. You know, frame locks, liner locks, some people bring it up as a big advantage to have a lock on the top for some people who hate the frame and the liner locks. I mean, if you're not careful, you can still have your fingers in the way of the shark locks and the compression locks when you flick and flack and click and clack, and even the button locks too. I guess what I'm trying to say is I fully don't get why some people just hate the liner and the frame locks and like the other style locks like button lock, because then you're gonna have 20 people that are like, button locks really don't lock up as well, and they're susceptible to spine wax. Like, anybody hits the top of their knife while they're using it. There's a lot of theoretical things that knife guys are really concerned about that really don't make a difference in real life. Just know that. It all depends on how you use your pocket knives personally and how you open and close them. Comparisons. We're gonna keep this brief. First, the Sharkcubs versus the AD 20.5. Not a huge difference here, you know, in the size, it's there. The AD 20.5 is not a very big knife already, and these are just slightly smaller. Here are the Sharkcubs versus the Para 3, you know, with the compression lock that keeps your fingers out of the way, like the Shark Lock does. AD 20.5 and the Sharkcubs are Para 3 size, and it's a good reference knife. And that's going to be it. We're done here. Say hi to the patrons. Thanks, guys, for sticking around. You, too, if you're not a patron, can be a patron for $1 or $2 a month. Or not, that's fine, whatever. Thanks to Demko for letting me check these out. Now, if you buy these below the video with the links, they are affiliate links and they help support the channel. I'm not a pushy affiliate link guy, but they're there in most videos. Some videos there's not affiliate links, but you can always click the links below the channel and support the channel if they are affiliate links. So like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for watching.